All right. Excuse me. So GIS is a system. Is that okay? GIS stands for Geographic Information System. Now, a system is made up of interrelated parts. So what are the parts of GIS? The parts are software, hardware, data, people, and the methods. Is that okay? All right. Maybe you don't know what geography is. Geography is about knowing the knowledge of things around you, people, places, okay, landforms, locations, all right? Basically, that is what geography is about. Everything on the surface of the earth, getting to know it, that knowledge is geography. The study. Are you okay? Geography. It's a science. It's a science. So people who know where things are, don't take them for granted. It's okay. They know geography. If growing up, I had a cousin and he knew everywhere. Anything you talk about, do you know stadium? I know stadium. When you go straight and you look on the left there, you see another place. And then, he could always tell a story because he knew places. So that science of studying where things are, where people are, how they look like, their location, all that is geography. Okay, so when we use the word geographical, then what we are saying is that anything that's got to do with objects, people, and phenomenon around clouds, buildings, rivers, streams. I keep saying that I keep telling people that, do we have to even teach people geography? If you read a lot, you just know geography. If most of the time you're listening to a certain radio station that doesn't help you, wouldn't have an idea what it's about. But I don't think my questions are, normally I even brief you on what the geographical phenomena. For example, in a question in exam, I asked a question about volcanoes. I said that there's been a spillage, a volcanic eruption. That was the question. And then in this volcanic eruption, you're supposed to go in there as an engineer and then map the place. You understand that? Remember, GIS for civil engineering is what we are dealing with. So the interesting thing about GIS is that it can be applied in several fields. In fact, GIS can be used in agriculture, it can be used in health, it can be used in emergency services not needed. The police can use it to map crime and to monitor crime, to manage it. Okay, so GIS is special. There's something sweet about it. It's something that if a time will come that everybody need it, just like cybersecurity is needed for every bank, which may go online and all these things. So this is the introduction to the GIS. You can ask questions and feel free and even ask questions, but it should all revolve. You shouldn't go beyond people, okay? It shouldn't go beyond phenomenon. It shouldn't go beyond the objects around you. The Wager Lake, which is right to my left hand side, it doesn't go beyond that. Okay? So before I actually sat in an aeroplane, I never knew that the clouds are not that far up there in the sky. I mean, when we went far on top of the clouds, then I started thinking, what are we talking about here? Do you understand that? So all this while the clouds are not that high. Okay, so that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Let's talk about land use change. People are moving into Accra. There's urban expansion. That's phenomenal. It's a change. It's a change that we are seeing. And you never know how far this urban expansion, the degree at which you have it, it's gone, how far it's gone. All that is geographical. I'm talking about geographical things. Okay, hands up. Have someone's hand up. Talk to me. Talk to me. Or did you raise your hand by mistake? Okay, so maybe you raised your hand by mistake. So geography is about everything around us. So don't be ignorant at worst. I don't know if your hand is up. I keep lowering it, you keep raising it. If you have a question, you can ask. But this is quite introductory.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. The network was very bad, so I could barely hear you. I don't know whether the other person is also experiencing the same thing.
Okay, so you still cannot
Right
hear
from
me.
where you started talking about it,
So you still can't hear me.
I can hear you now. Right?
Okay, so that is one
No.
of the challenges with online teaching. You see?
Yeah, I can hear you somehow, but
Yes, but listen to me again. You may miss something that I say,
yeah,
and that won't help you. So online teaching has its advantages. In fact, a friend of mine, she's called Akuz. She's doing the research, her final year project, and she's looking at the effectiveness of online teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic. So please don't miss. You see, I've said something you probably don't hear, and so that will affect your the way
yes,
you perform. I hope you understand that too.
yes, yes, yes.
So this is what I'll
Sure.
do now. Let me tell you the truth. I'm using my own modem. AIT is giving me free internet, but at the moment I want to teach effectively. So I've gone to buy this is close to 300 Ghana cedis, but it is worth it. I don't have interruptions. Vodafone, so far for me, they've been okay. So if you feel the lecture is
Okay.
important to you, maybe buy a better network to help you. Okay, so geography is like that. When we talk about information is different from data.
Okay.
A lot of people mix it up. They just say information, they mean data. They'll say data, they mean information. But once you are mixing it up like that, then obviously means you don't know what you're talking about. What we get from a GIS is geographical information. In other words, we are able to tell what is happening where, be able to query a system and to tell the location. We can able to predict over space that, okay, we can predict that the shoreline will move a certain distance over time. That is what GIS do. No other system does that apart from GIS. A system that can predict, look at what Google is doing now. Now you can just use Google Maps to find the shortest route to your destination. And then it not only does it give you the shortest route, it also tells you where the traffic is. So that is GIS. It's around us. We've watched it on TV for years, but we never knew what it was. But now it's with us. It's a system. That means that they are parts of the system. And so put this in your mind, take notes, go along with me. And remember that everything I'm saying points to just one thing. It points to the final system that is working. So you need to understand the parts, which is what we do every week that we meet. We will be talking about that GIS system. We want to understand fully what it is. And so in an exam, the questions being asked are just the parts. Okay, so if you go reading it like that, you can't connect it, you're going to be in trouble. All right, so one of the ways to talk about any system or describe anything is to simply talk about or give the application areas. So application areas, I've already talked about it: forestry, mining, health, telecommunication, and so on. So Since we don't have a lot of GIS in Ghana, what you have to do as a student is to just picture it. Lands Commission, for some time, I mean, even now, you can't literally see anything online where we can go and say, I've bought a piece of land. I just want to know that I'm the one who owns it so that I can click and then I'll see that, oh, okay, I own a land and I'm so proud about that. That's the application of GIS in land administration, land management. It's not being done. You understand that? So the application of GIS, you talk about it, you always get emotional because you don't see it around us. Where you place a mast so that we can get good network. You see how you are struggling with your data connection? That's because GIS has not been effectively used by someone. For all you know, you don't live in a countryside. Maybe you're not even in a village somewhere. Maybe you are in Accra, you're in a city, and you're still struggling to get good interconnectivity. So that is what GIS does. It gives you the information so that you can make or take a decision. That is what GIS is all about. Okay, so in the military, I said it thousands of times. The military need to know where they should pass. Because where you pass during wartime, I can't even picture my war in the war field, how it will look like. Because seriously, they don't want to be there. But one thing I know is that you just can't be anywhere. You'll be up in some story building like this, and then someone will just shoot you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so for them, for the military, GIS is like a thing God. They're not going to play with it. They're going to be looking at it. They're going to look at enemy location, our location. Can we be seen? Can we not be seen? How far are we advancing? At what rate are we going? All this is possible with the use and implementation of GIS. Forestry Commission, they don't need to take 4x4 range, is it Land Rover, the car that's able to move through water or something. And you just traveling in the forest, you don't need that. What you need is a system that can tell you, today there's been a fire in the middle of the forest. A system can tell you. You understand that? And how's the system going to work? It will need the experts, it will need the software, it will need a good computer, and then you get this done. We basically need to be able to track. You see, we live in a country where I was telling someone that anybody, the average person who has lived in Ghana for like 20 years plus, 25 years plus, can literally tell you what the weather forecast. You can just rattle it. There'll be mist of 4 patches in the lower belt, and like, because it's been said over and over and over and over again. All right, we don't track anything in Ghana. We don't. We just there. When there's a heat wave, or you wouldn't even know. In fact, if the temperature has reached a level that has never reached before, nobody talks about it. And I'm not lambasting the weather, forecast people, but obviously, once I'm talking about a system like GIS, it's got to be used. If you are an engineer on site, civil engineer working, and the grader, I mean, sometimes when you look at a person even controlling the grader, you have a fair idea that this is nothing sophisticated. But that is what we're supposed to get to a place where the road is constructed with the guidance of some kind of system where the grader knows where they are and exactly what the height is supposed to be. I mean, the grade is supposed to be, etc. For any project, we should be able to tell what is happening where without necessarily physically being there. In fact, so that will point to even the data sources that we use to feed GIS. Businesses need to know, they want to meet requirements. Businesses are very smart. We tell, mining companies to comply with pollution, regulations on pollution. And what would they do? They just find a way, get some GIS person, let them work something, and let them see exactly what is happening. They will just work at an optimal level to ensure that they won't get into trouble, because they can be fined if they pollute the environment. So it's all about location. Location is about places. it's therefore about your location, your elevation, and then something else that is down to all this data. We call it geographical data. All right, I call it geographical data. The course outline will touch on the definitions, concepts, data sources, acquisition, methods of data input, data structures and data models. So we're talking about raster and vector data, concept of map projection, geocoding methods. Okay, we won't talk about data management. We won't talk about geocoding methods. So okay, sorry about that. We won't even talk about data management and display. We won't talk about that. Just come up to concept of map projection. Then we will now talk about some applications areas. So I'm going to put on the screen the extra areas that we'll be touching. One of them is network analysis. Now, when I start talking about network analysis, it seems the whole class now goes sleeping. I ask one question on network analysis, people as if they are just tired. The answer you get, you wonder. So far, Mr. Belega, it's just you. A class of how many people? 4 or 5. Today, people have decided they won't come for class. You see? But that is how it is. I want to learn. Network analysis is GIS application that allows us to, you see what Google Maps do? That is what network analysis talks about, finding the shortest route using an algorithm, like the distress algorithm. All right. Then we talk about surface, 3D surface analysis. Okay, I think basically these are the 2 extra things that we add to it, unless I've missed one. But yes, this is not much. I'm not really asking for much. If I'll talk about all this, talk about network analysis, then we'll do a tutorial, like a practical. I don't think I'm asking for more. Okay, so that is it. Well, I always ask students, ask a question, they won't ask a question. When you ask them a question, they copy something that's not relevant, put it there. You can only end up scoring a very low mark. Excuse me. If you are writing your exam online, that's even dangerous. If I were you, I'll just answer from the material I've given you. If you go online, you wouldn't know what you are looking for. You are not a specialist in GIS. You won't know what, in fact, some of the answers you give will be so wrong that the lecturer will be wondering, what happened to this guy? Why is he writing all this kind of nonsense? Excuse me to say. So this is the reason a lot of students don't do well. They haven't committed themselves to what is being said. And so that's what's going to happen. So this is it. I don't know if you have any question on the introduction, you can ask. If you have a question on the introduction, you can ask. I hope you understand the kind of animal that GIS is. GIS is really made up of several parts. That's the basic thing. Several parts. And the part work in order to achieve something. What is that? So that we can query. So that's one of the things that we do with GIS. We should be able to what? Query the system. And when we query the system, we should get information. Okay, and what kind of information? It's going to be definitely spatial information. In other words, we get to know where. The question, where is the target? Where is the enemy? Where is the low? Which areas are cheaper? In what's the cheapest areas? Land prices, where exactly is it? Okay, where did the lights go off? All questions like that, the answer is a system that tells you where. It's not the person. It's initially, like I told you about my cousin, very nice guy. What he did was that he stored a lot of information, geographic information in his head. So he knew TUC. Where's TUC? TUC is down there. Good. Okay, he knew everywhere. Because he moved, he had to move physically and then visit those places. It doesn't have to be like that. So that is basically the introduction. If someone asks you what GIS is without actually to define it, this is what you should say. Everything that I just said. So the meeting will end, this session will end in 8 minutes. So when it ends, I want you to rejoin. Do you have any question what GIS is about? It can be applied in several areas that you'll be surprised, like agriculture, for example. GIS can be used in agriculture.
Yes, so I have a question.
Go for it.
Yes. When you were explaining the part of, I was saying I couldn't hear anything. So please, I would like you to elaborate on the part of GIS well, so that I can connect.
In fact, I'm going to talk about it again. The part of GIS, we come to it. I'll talk about it again.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, but the next session is talking about the definitions of GIS. As for definitions, there's nothing you can do about it. You take them as they are. So, toolbox definition of GIS considers GIS to be like a toolbox, and from that toolbox, we can actually collect, store, retrieve at will, transform, display spatial data from the real world. So, if you know what a toolbox is, mechanics use a toolbox. They have spanner, they have chisel, they have pliers, they have all sort of things in there that allow them to fix a car. The same thing, GIS can be look like that. That I'm doing something, but I need to pick it as a tool and I use it. So you can go to the mining sites and then see them using GIS. You may never be able to appreciate it. After everything you've learned in GIS, you may never appreciate it. Why? Because they are using it only to do something. I know what an example is. Someone who uses something that you cannot use very well, someone can use it to get something done. Or you may know how to use something, but another person takes it and does something interesting with it, and you wonder, how did you do that? I don't know. If you are a fan of eating, well, maybe yam and stew. So normally in Ghana, people eat yam with stew, but I think in Nigeria, they actually do yam. They turn yam into fufu or something like that, which is kind of a bit laughable because we are not used to that. The same with GIS, it can be just a tool. You pick it, use it. What do you want to use it for? Yeah. But you need to understand the principles. Yes. So database definition is also looking at GIS as if it's a database. What is a database? In Ghana, we talk about database. In the news, we hear about database. Has anybody asked themselves what it is? A simple, a proper arrangement of data. Are you okay? Such that we can query it, so that we can search through it. Are you okay? That is what a database is. Okay. So an organized set of data that we can easily query. That is what database is about. And usually there's indexing in databases. And so we don't give you student index numbers for the fun of it. You are giving that so that we can easily retrieve you and get your information when you finish school and you want the transcript. So that is what you can look at GIS like it's as if it's a database. And in that system, we have indexed special objects have been indexed in there. So we have stored geographical objects in the database. Can you imagine that? That means that concerning the buildings you see out there, concerning the street lights, whatever, all the infrastructures you see out there, we are putting all that into a database, into a table, such that we can index it and we can quickly find them. That is another definition of GIS. A database system in which most of the data are specially indexed in a form, which is a set of procedures operated in order to answer queries about special entities in the database. Then we can have the organizational definition of GIS. I always keep telling students that this one is by organizations, as in look at it from the point of view of like a manager or a CEO. He has his database already. And then you tell him that you are bringing a system that will help him to now track his customers. Can you imagine that? Let's get to know where our customers live. That is the definition you see over there. Now you asked me to go over. Okay, do you have a question? I think your hand is still up. You asked me to go over components of GIS. So components of GIS. So you see, definitions of GIS will not come. Will likely not be a question in the exam straight away because it's a definition, and we are not asking questions define. Questions that sound like that, define something. We are not. So you should know how to even read your notes. But then the understanding that you get from the definition is very important for you to answer some questions. All right. Hardware is the physical parts of a computer that you can touch. Now, when we say a computer, don't think about the desktop computer anymore. A computer, your smartphone is a computer. Maybe you don't know. The last time you checked, you are installing applications, which another name for an application is software. Anything that you're installing software on, my friend, that is a computer of a sort, or it's a computer system. All right. So hardware is a physical part. And up to now, I haven't asked the question. I'm going to ask very soon in examination the use of Uber on your phone and how that is GIS. Is anybody using Uber making use of GIS? That can be a question. Explain why. So the hardware will be the phone will be hardware because you can touch it. Hardware includes everything in a computer that you can touch, the monitor, the keyboard, the actual CPU, central processing unit, and any other attached hardware. So you can see here, I've put this lady on the board. She's busily clicking on the sheet of the map sheet of paper, it's a map sheet. All right. Now, you need to understand everything about the computer. Well, not in detail, but at least the basic storage, memory. Are you okay? When you say RAM, what is it? When you say 1 megabyte, what is it? When you say 2 gigabytes, 1 terabyte, what is that? That is all part of our knowledge in hardware. And so that is why you see it on the board. So here we have what we call the digitizer. The digitizer is converting an analog hard copy into soft copy in a digital format. Okay. Now, what are we trying to do with the digitizer? What we are doing is this. We need special information, but don't forget that the computer was invented not too long ago. All right. And it's still developing. Okay, so there's existing data which is on paper or analog or hard copy. We want to convert it to soft copy or digital. We make use of the digitizer. So what the user does is that he simply puts the hard copy map on it, then he registers some marks. Okay. Okay, this session is going to end.